Yeah, I'm just going to introduce who we are. I'm Donny. I'm co-founder of North and So TV. And this is Polly, the wonderful Polly, who's going to be teaching you the class today. It's Mental Health Awareness Week, and we just couldn't not do something for it. We try to do something every year. This year, COVID hit us. We went online. We've always done like studio work. We've gone online, we've created a massive community of over 400 people. It's gone really well. And we were like, let's do something as big as we possibly can this year. And we've got amazing to have 200 people signed up. And we truly hope you walk away from this session with some tools that you've picked up from Polly. Polly's been learning all this numerous years, and I'm sure she'll dig into that in further detail. But I'm just here to do the tech stuff because
I'm a technophobe. You won't believe I could run an online business because I can't do anything technical. So he has to come in, switch it all on and off, and then I can just do the rest.
Yeah. So I'm going to leave it in you. I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of Paul. I'll just keep admitting people in, and then I'll leave at like 1:15 because we will have to cut off then. Otherwise, we'll be back and forth admitting folk in all night, and that'll make everyone anxious, I think. So yeah, do you want to crack on? And I'll just keep admitting people in for 1:15.
Okay, so what time are we on? Okay, cool. 8 minutes past. Fab. So anyway, welcome everybody. As Donny's just sort of bringing people in and it gets to 1:15, I suppose I will quickly just run through what we're going to do tonight, so that you've got a little bit of a schedule, so you know what's coming up and when. First of all, actually, if you want to bring in something like, it doesn't have to look like this, but like a chunky cushion or some chunky books, it's just to sit on. Like if you're not used to sitting on the floor in a cross-legged position, you might want something a little bit chunkier, or you might even bring in a chair. So you might already be comfortable, which is cool. But if you want to bring something in a little bit more comfortable, when we work with a little bit of yoga, just sit on something a little bit. Okay, cool. Lovely. Okay, so anyway, welcome. Like I said, I'm going to run through what the workshop is about. I'll get into a little story as to why I am teaching what I'm teaching. It's a very specific method that I've sort of created myself or used throughout my life to help myself out, really. And I'm just going to deliver the tools to you. And hopefully you can go away and well, I've got a little workbook, a little logbook that I'm really hoping that you sort of like use these tools that you're going to work with tonight for a week, okay? And we can talk on emails and stuff like that, and hopefully you'll be able to use these tools for a week and see how they serve you, basically. Okay, so the running of tonight will basically be, I'm going to try my best to stick to my timings, because it's not my forte, is sticking to my timings. I like to get all the information out and make sure everybody's got as much as they possibly can from the classes and the workshops. So I'm going to stick to my timings first of all. It's going to be round about an hour-ish. Okay, so I'm hoping I can stick to that. So the first part of the workshop is going to be introducing the method that we're going to be using to help release anxiety, stress, worry, depression, and cognitive disturbances, I might call them. And I'll introduce the method, and then what we'll do is we'll work with some practical stuff. So we'll work with some Kundalini Yoga. You don't need to have practiced any yoga before to do this, because it's going to be just really simple exercises that help to remove anxiety from the spine and from the nervous system. Okay, so it's stuff that everybody can do. So you're welcome to like turn your screen off if you don't want to be seen like moving around and stuff. It's entirely up to you. If you want to turn your screen off, you can, and you'll just see me. So cool. So that's what we'll do. We'll talk about some stuff first, have a little chat. I can see a few of you have got cups of coffee and that, or tea, or whatever you've got in your cups, which is cool. And then we shall get into something practical. Okay, And at the end, I'll just outline everything that we've been working with, and I'll send you on your merry way, and hopefully you can get going this week with a couple of life-changing tools. Cool. Okay, so it's 11 minutes past. Dawn's just going to keep admitting people because they keep coming through. But let's get started anyway. So I'm going to sit here, tell a little story as to why I've developed this method, and then I'm going to sit back there so that because I'm going to be standing a lot of the time, I'm going to be working through some of the practices. Okay, so basically what I do is I teach something called KBT, Kundalini Behavioral Therapy. Now, in our little community, which is this online yoga group, I don't specifically teach KBT, but I teach Kundalini Yoga for mental health. This session that we're doing today is going to be the method of KBT. Okay, so KBT is something that I'm going to get into in a minute. I'm going to tell you the reasons why I got into it in the first place. It is a little story about me suffering with a crippling anxiety, and that's the reason I like to deliver what I deliver to who I deliver it to. So I came into Kundalini Yoga in the first place because I was suffering with terrible anxiety, terrible depression, low mood, body dysmorphia. I don't know whether anybody has suffered with anything like that before, but it's this just a feeling of unworthiness towards yourself is probably the way I might describe it. Obsessive compulsive disorder, which not like incessant cleaning in my way. Mine was more incessant thoughts. So intrusive thoughts coming into the head that formed a little story, and I'd just gone off on a tandem, and it was quite time consuming, let's put it that way. So as well as anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, if that's how I like to describe it, obsessive compulsive disorder, body dysmorphia, and depression, which are all sort of stemming from the same thing, really. It's all just I suppose an inability to be able to be present in the moment and live in this neutral mind, which is what I might call the meditative mind. And we sort of flit in between the past, we're flitting between the future, and we're struggling to be present and, be kind to ourselves in the present moment. So for me, I got into Kundalini Yoga because I was going for some psychotherapy when I was living in Austria. Some psychotherapy at a university in Austria, and the professor of the university in Austria said, I think you might benefit more from a more physical approach to getting rid of anxiety. And he was right. So I went to the Kundalini Yoga teacher on my road, and on that road I was actually a little bit of a drinker at that time. So my anxiety and my depression sort of took me to a place where I needed to have some sort of a habit, obviously an unhealthy habit, but something that I needed to turn to enable myself to sort of wash out the thoughts in my head. So whether that was drinking too much, whether that was negative sort of back chat in my head, or not being very kind to myself, just loads of little habits that were really, really, really unhelpful for my life that I formed. And yeah, one of the habits was I drank a little bit too much. Everybody's got what I would call a vice for helping them to control their anxiety or control their depression, or just make themselves basically feel a lot better and to be able to live in joy to the best that they can. Sometimes it takes a little bit of distraction. Okay, and what I'm trying to give you today is how to create some healthy habits where we're not using distraction, we're using mindfulness, and we're using coming back to the present moment and being kind to ourselves and doing a little bit of physical work to bring us back into that neutral mind, that meditative mind. So first, a little bit of the story. Went to Kundalini Yoga class on the street where I used to drink quite a lot. And I'd go down to the Kundalini Yoga class and I'd have a couple of bevies, and then I would get there and I'd be like, can't believe I've come to my Kundalini Yoga class after I've had a few drinks. But hey ho, it's all honesty here. It's important that you know the reason I'm teaching what I teach. And then eventually I would do the Kundalini Yoga class, and I thought it was a little bit weird at first. And then I'd go home and I would also have drinks on the way home on that street. And eventually I just kept going and coming away and going and coming away and going and coming away. And I started to realize that I was actually not drinking on the way home. Like, I didn't plan it, but naturally I was not wanting to drink. And then it started to be that I kept going to the Kundalini Yoga class. I formed the habit. I think I was going maybe 3 times a week. And then I was just not drinking on the way there. I wasn't drinking on the way back. And actually it came to a point where I was drinking normally. So I just got rid of this almost, I don't know whether I want to call it an addiction or whether I want to call it just a bad habit to help me escape my head for a bit. You know what it's like if you suffer from anxiety or depression, it can be quite constant and very fatiguing. So the distraction at that time felt necessary. But yeah, as I started to move into the Kundalini Yoga practice more and more, I started to realize that it was sort of like healing parts of my body, my energy system. The cognitive approach was like totally beneficial. And I actually just started to come back to my sort of true authentic nature, if that's the way to describe it. I felt like I wanted to become better. I wanted to become healthier. I wanted to take on a different role that I was playing in society for myself. And I started to heal. I started to heal things. I started to become a lot more still in the head. I started to live a lot more in the present moment. And I started to form just continuous habits. Kundalini Yoga, as well as mindfulness, which for me is a match made in heaven. And I eventually healed myself. And this came through consistency. Okay, so this is what I'm going to teach today. It came through consistency. It came through me showing up to my practice, letting the yoga sort of do the job, and just swapping one habit for another habit over a regular period of time. Okay, so that's what I'm going to teach today. I'm going to teach 4 main habits, and we'll get to it. I can jabber on, but when we get to the practice, I won't be jabbering on. I'll just be teaching. 4 main habits that are going to really, really help you to take control of your anxiety in daily life and during a sort of a yoga practice or a practice in general. Maybe it's meditation. Again, we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, these are the 4 main habits that I use on a daily basis. I use them from the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed. If I'm having a really good day, I'm continuously practicing. And that's what it's about. It's about continuously being aware, is the word, aware of how you're treating yourself, how you're treating others, and how you can start to keep these little habits in your daily life to help support your mental health, to bring you back to a place of joy and out of a place of fear, which is essentially anxiety and depression. It's living in fear. It's not living in joy. It's not living in the present moment. Okay, so enough of that story. This is where I came from. This is how I got into Kundalini Yoga. And I've been teaching Kundalini Yoga and practicing it for about 15 years now. And it's my whole community's favorite style of yoga because it's very instant. First of all, it's very, very instant. So even if you've got bloody 2 minutes of time in your day, you can do something in Kundalini Yoga. There's thousands of different exercises and exercise practices and meditations and breath work. Even if you just have that very short space of time, there's something that you can practice. So that's why it's so powerful. Okay, so I'm going to introduce this method that I use. It's KBT, Kundalini Behavioral Therapy. Now, the reason that I use this method is because anxiety is both cognitive, mental, also it's physical and it's energetic. Because it's all of those things, it's not enough to practice only mindfulness or cognitive work to be able to address the anxiety. And it's also not enough to practice just physical and energetic work, like maybe a yoga or some movement or a meditation, for example. It's not enough. Both things combined are what creates that sort of match made in heaven. Okay, so that's what I want to say first of all, is the reason I've created this tool is because for me, the thing that's actually got rid of my anxiety and my low mood and that negative headspace is the combination of cognitive work and physical work. Okay, so first of all, if you don't know what CBT is, cognitive behavioral therapy, it is a sort of psychosocial intervention that was created to be able to get rid of anxiety, depression, and sort of focusing on cognitive distortion. So how can we change our thought patterns? How can we change our beliefs? How can we change what we believe about ourselves, what we've chose to believe throughout life, becoming from a child to an adult? How can we change our sort of attitude? How can we change our behaviors? Because basically, you know, anxiety and depression and cognitive disturbances, like all those things that I've been explaining, what I used to have, obsessive compulsive disorder, intrusive thoughts, negative sort of behavioral patterns, all of these things can be seen in the mental space, okay, in the cognitive space. And CBT helps to address how can we live a life with much more joy and presence and watch our thoughts a little bit more. So it's very much about changing behaviors from the mind, watching our thoughts, changing our attitudes, changing what we think about ourselves from this space. In here, I'm getting hot, take this off. Whereas this is just not enough to remove anxiety, okay? Just to watch the thoughts is just not enough because anxiety is ingrained in the nervous system, okay? It's ingrained in the nervous system, it's ingrained in the muscular system, just clapping a fly. Shouldn't be killing flies, that's terrible of me. Yeah, it's ingrained in the nervous system, it's ingrained in the muscular system, the skeletal system, it's ingrained into every cell and every tissue in our body. So just to work mentally or just to work physically is just not enough. So with the cognitive behavioral therapy, I've worked with it all of my life, around about 15 years, maybe even 16 to 17 years. I've worked with mindfulness and watching my thoughts and trying to change my behavioral patterns to live a healthier and happier life. But the thing that I didn't like about CBT, I'm not putting CBT down at all. I think it's a wonderful tool. The thing that didn't work for me when it comes to anxiety is this feeling of incessant worry. Okay, continue like an unfounded fear, continuously thinking something terrible is going to happen, unstoppable ruminating thoughts, negative thoughts, like I say, overthinking, unfounded worry and fear, like you're not really sure why you're feeling anxious, you're not really sure why you're acting like you're acting, it's just sort of there, like an impending feeling of doom, I like to call it. If you suffer from anxiety, you will know the impending feeling of doom, this like incessant feeling that something terrible is going to happen all the time. Frightening images, you know, that pop into your thought that makes you feel really unnerved. This is anxiety. Dread of something, so maybe the dread of a social situation or a place or a thing or a person or something that reminds you of something in the past or whatever it is, you might be fearing that. So there's all these things that are cognitive symptoms of anxiety. Yeah, like what I've just listed. And CBT works with these really well. But the thing that I think is not so transformative about CBT, specifically if you're suffering from quite sort of debilitating anxiety, is there's a lot of worksheets to have to do. There's a lot of do this, and this. And there's loads and loads and loads of stuff that you have to address. And lots of different exercises. And what I found when I was suffering from really bad anxiety was I was struggling to bring myself to do anything because I was so focused on too many different things in the head that I couldn't actually bring myself to doing anything mindfully. I wasn't doing full jobs. I was just doing everything half-heartedly because I was chaotic. And I was frantic, and I felt very, very, very in the head and not in the heart space and not in the body. So I've tried to create something which mixes CBT, some aspects of it, okay? And the aspects of it that I'm going to be working with, or the tools that I'm going to be giving you, are a couple of different things. I'm taking the login. Sorry about this fly, by the way, guys. I'm living in Portugal and it's really hot today and flies just are buzzing around me constantly. So I'm sorry about that, but it's only a little fly. Yeah, so I've taken some of the stuff, but not all of the stuff, and I've blended it with Kundalini Yoga. Okay, and you'll get to learn about it soon in this course at the end-ish. Okay, so that's the CBT part of it that we're going to be working with. Cognitive symptoms and how to challenge those sort of behavioural patterns and thought patterns from a more cognitive approach. Now, this is what you'll be doing in daily life. I will give you a little logbook, which is CBT, but it's very, very simple tick logbook. How you felt before you did this, how you felt afterwards, as simple as that, okay? It's not going to be like over confusing, and it's not going to create you any extra anxiety. One approach. Next approach is the Kundalini Yoga, okay? So I've blended these two things, which makes KBT. Now, Kundalini Yoga, if you haven't heard of it, is a really, really powerful form of yoga, which for me has completely transformed my life from anxious and quite sad and flat in mood, negative, a horizontal energy, waking up in the morning and not actually wanting to get up. You know, you probably know the feeling if you've ever suffered from depression or really overwhelming anxiety, where you're like, oh, there's too much to think about, or can't I just stay in bed? And when it gets to that stage and anxiety is controlling your life, then it's obviously time to do something about it. Now, Kundalini Yoga is what changed my physical feelings of flatness. Okay, CBT helped me watch my thoughts. Kundalini Yoga brought me back into the meditative space, the neutral mind. It removed stuff off my body, trauma, physical tension. So let's just have a quick chat about the physical symptoms of anxiety and what Kundalini Yoga might do for those. So restlessness. This is one of them. You're continuously feeling restless. You can't sit down, you can't chill out. You're either hoovering, bloody running, you know, doing something for somebody else. If you're an empathetic sort of person, who often the sort of people who get anxiety, you're continuously worrying about other people, your family, yourself, everything, the world, the state of the world. And it's just so much, and it makes you feel restless. And this is really normal feeling for anxiety or generalized anxiety disorder. Another physical symptom would be tingling in the extremities, so in the limbs. Tingly fingers, tingly arms, tingly feet, a feeling like nervousness that you sort of can't tame, but you don't know where it's coming from. Can't quite put your finger on it. You probably know what I mean if you're suffering from anxiety. Lightheadedness is another thing that you can suffer with if you suffer with anxiety. Now, one of the main reasons that we get this lightheadedness with anxiety is because we are in the head. too much. We're physically working in the head. We're listening far too much of what the mind has to say, as if it's the only thing that matters, and not enough about what the heart has to say and what the body has to say. So we're very lightheaded. We're living in the head. So it's all up here. Yeah. And with anxiety, what a nice thing that we need to do is ground our energy. So we need to get out of the head and come back into the body. And this is something that Kundalini Yoga is wonderful for. Sleeplessness. If you are suffering from anxiety, physical symptom of it, you don't sleep very well, because when you come to relax, you're like, oh, what else can I now think about? Because this is the anxiety disorder, right? You're trying to relax and something's going, sorry, not tonight. I'm just going to pop in with another intrusive thought, and that stops you from being able to relax and sleep. And fatigue is one of the worst things for heightening your anxiety. Absolutely one of the worst things. And so it's like a catch-22. I'm sure you'll all know what I mean. It's a catch-22. You can't sleep at night because you struggle to rest, because you've got restlessness in the nervous system. So what you do is you sleep less, or it's not a great sleep. You wake up in the morning, you're tired. The fatigue makes your nervous system low. It makes your energy levels low. You start to sort of reach for foods that then make your energy levels low. You can't keep up with your good habits, like you're doing your little meditation or your anxiety or your cognitive training, or, all the little stuff that you do that keeps you well and healthy and kind to yourself. You can't do them because you're knackered. So it's like this catch-22. It's this like incessant spiral of everything just sort of going a little bit out of control, and you feel chaotic. So what we're trying to do here in Kundalini Yoga is to remove some of this physical restlessness from the body, from the nervous system, from the mind actually as well, from the muscular system, because it creates tensions in the body. Physical tensions, anxiety, it rises into the shoulder girdle, into the cervical spine, into the cheeks, into the brain, into the liver, into the adrenal glands in the kidneys. And all of this stress in the organs and in the whole nervous system sends our body into shock. And then that starts to go into the mind again. So it's that mind-body connection that we're working with in Kundalini Yoga. Okay, so that's what we're really trying to get here. Let me just have a quick chat about the mind-body connection, and then I'm going to start to move into some practical stuff. So we're just going to get moving. So mind-body connection with the nervous system. Right at the bottom of the spinal cord, so we've got the tailbone area, we've got the end of the central nervous system, and then all the way up through that area to the crown, we've got the other end of the central nervous system. Okay, so all the way along that area, some of you might know this already. I'm just explaining it so you understand it from a bit more of a scientific point of view. So all the way along that area, we've got little nerves coming off that are feeding our tissues and organs, okay, and that are connecting the mind to the body through this area. And when the mind becomes disturbed through all of this sort of negative thought patterns and limiting beliefs and all this horrible stuff that we say to ourselves all the time. Something crazy just went off in the background. I don't know what it was. It sounded like my head. Okay, all this cognitive stuff, yeah? When we're disturbing our mind with that stuff, what it does is it sends signals to the nervous system to tell your body you're in danger. And so our stress response goes up, and we're in that fight or flight mode. For example, let me give you an example of that fight or flight mode. Say you see something that you're really scared of, like a spider in my case. I know that's a little bit pathetic, but if you're scared of something, like I am with a spider, I see the spider and I'm like, oh, spider, bad. I've had bad experiences in the past of probably just crawling along the floor and it's scaring me, that's it. So the mind goes, oh, there's a spider, you've got to be scared. The nervous system, your body then tenses up, your breath goes short, so you're only breathing half a breath, and your whole nervous system goes into panic mode. And that's the mind and body feeding off one another. And so every time you're anxious and every time you're stressed and every time you're suffering from this mind-body sort of disorientation, as I like to call it, you've got this sort of catch-22 of the nervous system not knowing what it's doing. And so you're going to get tensions in the body, you're going to get tensions in the mind, and you're going to create even more anxiety. So what I'm aiming to do with this KBT, this Kundalini behavioural method, is to come back to this space in the nervous system where we can be calm, we can be restful, not restlessness. We can be in the present moment as much as we possibly can be. We can feel more joy, more happiness. We can react from a positive headspace. We can become well. For God's sake, you know, our body is not well when it's continuously stressed. It's just, physical illnesses will come. Dis-ease in the body means disease. We create ourselves these things through the stress. So we're going to remove it. This is what we're doing. We're removing it from our nervous system. We don't need to store it. We're not a wardrobe. We need to, every now and again, chuck out the old stuff to give yourself a little bit of space. Okay, so that's probably enough chat from me about what we're working with KBT. I'm going to give you the 4 main tools that we're going to be working with, and then we're going to do some practical work. So this is a match made in heaven, working with physical yoga and meditation. For me, Kundalini Yoga is the absolute most powerful yoga I've ever experienced. I'm not being biased, I'm just speaking from my own experience, which is all I can give you guys, is tools from my own experience. And we're going to be working with this cognitive stuff. So 4 things that we're going to be working with throughout the week. Okay, I'm going to give you this now, but there is a week's worth of stuff that you can do. The first thing to help you get rid of your anxiety, the absolute first thing, is you must have your reason why. So why do you want to get rid of your anxiety? It sounds like a really, really sort of like obvious question, but it's not that obvious. Okay, for me, the thing that was a turning point for me to actually go, do you know what? I cannot cope with this anxiety any longer. I just can't cope with it any longer. You know, we can cope with it for a certain amount of time. We cope because it's easier than changing your life around. It's so much easier than having to put in the work. It's easier to just sit there and go, oh, I know this, same old game. But something eventually stops you in your tracks. Now, for me, my purpose, my reason as to why I had to get rid of my anxiety was because it started to affect other people's lives. And I'm a caring person. My values lie in kindness and compassion and being kind to other people. And it was coming to a point where my anxiety was actually bringing stress into other people's lives, my relationships, my family, even in the work that I was in at the time. You know, I was just not a great person to be around because I was frantic and I was stressing people out. And I didn't want to be in that space. So for me, my reason why I had to get rid of my anxiety is because I did not want to spread that out to the rest of the world. Because for me, I believe in spreading out a positive message, because it's a positive ripple effect. I don't want to be spreading out this sort of like negative ripple effect just because I can't watch my own thoughts and I can't help myself out. Okay, so that was my real reason. So this is the number 1 thing. You have to have a real reason as to why you want to get over your anxiety. It has to be something that's greater than you, because we don't do stuff for ourselves. We tend to do stuff for other people, whether it's your children, whether it's you know, the fact that you might be feeling like you're becoming ill from it. It's affecting your work, it's affecting your focus, it's affecting your purpose. You know the things, guys. You will know deep down And if you don't know, a good thing to do is to just close your eyes, take some breaths. You can do this on your own later. Take some breaths, sit in a quiet space and listen and go, why do I really want to get rid of this anxiety? And listen, and your higher self will tell you. And this is the main thing. So this is the first thing we're working with. This is the first KBT, daily practice that we're working with, is why do you want to get rid of your anxiety? What is your driving force to want to get rid of it? Now, if you don't know this why, you won't do your habits. You'll just shove them under the carpet again, and you'll carry on just trying to find some self-help. I'm just speaking from what I did. Finding some self-help books, going, oh, tomorrow I'll start it tomorrow, I'll do it another day. Bad news is, tomorrow actually never comes. It never comes. We always push everything onto another day. So to take action is to find your greatest why, write it down, understand it, and every day when you're waking up this week, because I'm going to give you a little logbook, the first thing that you're thinking about is, what is my why? Why am I doing this? Why am I? Somebody's coming in. I'm going to let them in. I said I wouldn't, but I am. Why am I wanting to take action, and why am I sticking to these little daily habits to make my world a better place? Okay, number one, why? Number two is to have a daily living practice, I like to call it, a daily living practice, which is a cognitive tool, that's the part of the CBT, which you're continuously, mindfully watching your behaviors and your actions towards yourself and others, okay? And I'm going to call this self-compassion. Okay, and this is not physical. This is something that you're doing all day long. Now, self-compassion is the way you're talking to yourself. It's so important to help you get rid of your anxiety. It's the number one key. In yoga, we call this ahimsa, non-violence. Yeah, I've got it here on my hand. This means non-violence, okay? I got this tattooed on my arm. The minute I realized, actually, I've started to like myself. The tools that I've been working with have worked, and they're working. And every single time my mind wants to go, oh, sorry, Paul, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a deep sea dive into some of them incessant thoughts, I just go, it's just there, and I go, ahimsa, no, and I stop myself in my tracks, and I come back to self-compassion, kindness. Now, this tool, I'm going to speak to you a bit more about it in a little video that I'll give you in your emails. This tool is not something that you can forget about. This tool is watching your mind on a daily basis, from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to sleep. This is called mindfulness. This is cognitive training. And if you don't do it, it will creep back in. But over time, if you keep doing it and just keep reminding yourself every single time you hear that inner critic going, you're not good enough, you should be worrying about the future, you should be worrying about your finances, you should be worrying about this, you should be worrying about that. You know, you're not worthy enough for this job, you're not this, you're not that. Every time that incessant creeping anxiety comes into your head, you must challenge it on the spot. And now sometimes this is easier said than done. Don't worry, we are going to get into some practical work and try to get everything in. We'll probably finish around 1:15-ish, just to let you know. Every time this incessant creep, I like to call it an incessant creep, because that's what it feels like. It's like crawling into your head, this anxiety. When it comes in, you must challenge it straight away, and you go, you say the opposite to what the incessant creep has just said. So for example, you've been looking in the mirror and your incessant creep goes, oh, you're not good enough today. You really are. You just, everything about you is not good. Like you don't feel good, like you don't look good, you're not worthy of going outside and doing your job. And for example, that's a negative self-belief talk in the mirror. This is the absolute essence of non-self-compassion. This is the essence of violence towards yourself. You come back with the opposite and you say it out loud, because you say it with clarity and you say it with conviction and you say it with integrity, because that's challenging those thoughts. You're overpowering the thoughts. You're not good enough. You must say, I am good enough. I am good enough. I am worthy enough. And I am able to change my thought patterns, because my thoughts, I am in control of my thoughts. They are not in control of me. That's just my mind. I am the observer of my mind. This is only one part of my system. It's not the boss. It's just one part of the system. Okay. So you're continuously challenging your thought patterns. This is the number 2 thing. First one, what's your biggest why as to why you want to change your anxiety and live a life of joy and inner peace and kindness and self-compassion and purpose, actually, and doing the best you can in your work, finding your own inner purpose, finding your joy, finding what makes you tick. That's your biggest why. The one of the cognitive ways to get there is continuously challenging your thoughts. They'll be negative. There'll be a pattern of negative thoughts, and you have to challenge it with something positive. Like I say, I'll get to this in some of the emails that I'll send you, how we can work with self-compassion a little bit more. But this is a cognitive tool, and it happens all day long, all day long. It sounds incessant, yes, but is it more incessant than the negative backchat? Is it more incessant than the horrible, anxious, creeping thing that destroys everything in your life? It's not. It's challenging it, and it's vital, and it's needed, and it has to be done consistently. And over time, I promise you, if you practice these tools regularly, over time, you will see a huge difference. And I could even say, if you're practicing it regularly over time, these tools that I'm giving you, you could see 60 to 80% difference in your anxiety. And some people, if you practice it with serious discipline, like I have, anxiety, depression, OCD, these things that I really suffered with will go. And they'll come in sometimes, just as a little reminder that, because I need to know how to continuously be teaching my students. Yeah. And if I didn't have that little, someone's coming in. Hi, Alex, come in, welcome. If I did not have that little reminder, oh, there's a bit of anxiety, there's a bit of OCD, I wouldn't actually be able to know how to teach properly anymore, I don't think. I think I have to continuously have that little reminder to say, you still have these normal human being things to have, and they'll come in, but you've got the tools. And this is what it's all about. It's about having the tools. We're all humans. We all experience stuff from time to time. When it's become out of control, that's when you need to use the tools to rein it back in again. Okay, I'm nearly finished with the 4 things. What's your why? Why are you wanting to get rid of your anxiety? Watching your thoughts during the day, a cognitive practice, self-compassion. Do not be violent to yourself. That means, how do you talk to yourself? It can't be violent. It's just so self-destructive. It's going to go in a negative spiral, and it'll flood out to the rest of the world. Okay. Next thing is the practice. Okay. We need to, alongside cognitive practice and our greatest why, we must have a physical practice. This means taking yourself off in the day to do a little bit of either movement, meditation. There's lots of different ways to do this. I find the most powerful tool is Kundalini Yoga. Yoga, meditation, because what yoga and meditation does, which is a little bit different to other forms of exercise, is it's working with coming back to the present moment. It's working with coming back to the neutral mind, which is the meditative mind, which is a place where anxiety, fear, and depression cannot exist. It just can't exist. It's the present moment. It doesn't exist there. And it moves things off the body with the breath, okay? Because we're working with the breath a lot. We're working with the nervous system. We're working with that mind-body connection, okay? So having a little physical practice. Now, this is probably going to sound scary. It's like, oh, if I've never done any yoga before, how am I in a busy schedule meant to fit all this in? Now, this is where Kundalini Yoga is so fabulous, because sometimes there's things you can do in just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Like everybody has got 2 minutes to help themselves out in the day. And if you haven't, then you haven't got a big enough why. You haven't got a big enough reason for getting rid of your anxiety. And you all know what I mean by that. Okay, so last thing on the 4 things that you need to be doing really to help tame this anxiety is, at first, I don't do this anymore. I sometimes do it if I'm getting a little bit more anxiety than I really need to be having, a higher dose. I log things, okay? Because it gives you some, you're watching that you've done it, okay? So it gives you a little bit of, what's the word, guys? Selfish or not selfish, it gives you a little bit of clarity that you've done it, okay? So you've ticked it off, you've said, I've done this, tick, there, okay? It's like, it's on paper. It can't be messed with. In your mind, it can be messed with. On paper, you've gone, right, there's my logbook. How do I feel before my Kundalini practice or my physical practice or my meditation? How do I feel before on a scale of 1 to 10, anxiety-wise? 1 being rubbish, 10 being great, and then you're logging before and you're logging after. You're going to do this for a week. If you want to do it and you want to take it further, you're going to do the little practices that I tell you, and then we're going to do before and after logging. And the most important thing is to have a real look at, how did I feel before I did this practice? How did I feel after this practice? Is there a difference? And if there's a difference, and if it's a massive difference, then why on earth would I not continue this practice, these little habits that are making me feel so much better? Okay, so when you see that and it's logged down, it's like, you can stick it on your walls everywhere on sticky notes, you know what I mean? Do the practice because it makes me feel like this, and I don't want to feel like this. And that's what will keep you going. Okay, let's get to do a little bit of movement. So just really recap. These are the things to help you get rid of your anxiety if you do them on a regular basis. You need the biggest why ever. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to live my life to my truest potential of happiness and inner peace? Why would we not want that? Yeah, why do I want it? That's your biggest thing. Second, you're working with cognitive tools throughout the day, challenging your thought patterns with self-compassion, self-belief, and when the negative thing comes in, you challenge it straight away. And it takes some time, and over time, you'll start to think more positive things about yourself, and you'll have flipped the switch. Okay, you'll have flipped the switch. This is a thing, it actually happens. Cognitive, physical, develop a little physical mindfulness meditation, Kundalini Yoga practice. Kundalini's great, it shakes stuff off the spine. And the last thing is to log it. Log your achievements, log your daily habits, because without that log, you're going against your mind. So these are the things, okay? They'll come into an email. Okay, guys, right. So I'm going to give you a very, very short Kundalini practice. We're going to just do it for 20 minutes, okay, where we're going to be working with some Kundalini exercises. And everybody can do them. We're going to do a little exercise, then we're going to be still and breathe. Then we're going to do another little exercise, then we're going to be still and breathe. And we're just going to do a few of these, okay? And we're going to finish with a meditation that works on the breath, and it's for relieving stress out of the nervous system and out of the brain, okay? So that's what we're going to work with. Now, at the end of this, you can snap it again, non-violence. Have you heard me? It's terrible. So at the end of this, you can choose to think, maybe I can do, you know, a little bit of these exercises and log them throughout the week. I might even, you know, do a little bit more. You know, if you need support of a community, we've got a community there waiting for you. With Kundalini Yoga, so it's entirely up to you. But let's get to some practical stuff, guys. If you don't want to be seen doing this, there's nothing out of sort. It's just very, very simple movement into the body, okay, which will help us remove physical anxiety from the body. So if you don't want to be seen doing this, you can turn your camera off, and nobody will see you. Okay, I don't think anyone can see you anyway, actually, because I think if everybody's just got this big screen of me here, then you can just see me, unfortunately. So let's get to it. Come to a comfortable seated position to start with. Now, this doesn't matter how you sit. Everybody is completely different, thank God. Otherwise, the world would be a very boring place. Sit however you like. The main thing that I want you to think about when you're sitting up in your yoga practice is to have a nice straight spine. Okay, because what that does is it, first of all, it opens the heart space. Second of all, it allows for a little bit of free flow of energy through the center of the body. Okay, so you might be sitting on a chair, you might be sitting on a cushion, you might be sitting to the floor, you might even fancy just sitting and perched on the end of your bed. Whatever it is, let's just get to it. Okay, everybody, so very, very short practice. I want you to come with the eyes closed down to start with. So come with the eyes closed down. Just pop the hands onto the knees with the palms facing upwards. So you're sort of opening out the heart space. Palms face upwards. And then as you're sitting here, eyes are closed. I want you to just start to focus on a very slow, long, deep breath. Nothing else, just focus on a very slow, long, deep breath. And try and bring that breath all the way down into the pit of the navel, so into the belly, not just the chest. This causes more anxiety. Bring it into the belly. And as we inhale, we're trying to sort of create extra space in the body. So our spine becomes nice and tall, our torso becomes nice and inflated on the inhale. And then on the exhale, we're just naturally relaxing something, okay? If you're a jaw clencher, you might want to relax your jaw. If you want to relax them shoulders away from the ears, hips, knees, just find an element of relaxation in your body. Now, because anxiety is, like I said, both cognitive and physical, often when we just even relax the body, this can help relax the mind and vice versa. Sometimes it's too much to just do all the work in the mind. We need to come back to the body. Inhaling and exhaling, really, really simply. Inhale and exhale. And just taking a moment before we start to do a bit of movement, notice what the body feels like. Okay, become aware of the body. Become aware of any tensions you're feeling around the body. Maybe the neck or the shoulders feel a little bit tight. Sometimes the chest, if you suffer with stress and anxiety, can feel tight. If it's all a bit tight, just bring it even deeper, that breath into the belly area. So really deep breath into the belly. And trying to feel for the breath just calming the body. So every inhale you take, you're finding sort of extra energy in the body. And every exhale you take, you are trying to calm it. You're relaxing something every time a muscle relaxes. And just take a couple of moments here. So you might even take this little moment and think about that why, that sort of deep desire as to why you really want to be practicing these practices to help yourself out. And then just allow that to calm the body and know that you're in control of these things. You're in control of your mind. You're in control of your body. Just takes a couple of tools and a bit of discipline, that's all. Okay, and finally from here, we're going to take a very deep inhale through the nose and hold the breath for 5 breath counts and take a long exhale out the mouth. Okay, so big inhale through the nose. Hold the retention of the breath for 5 breath counts. And open the mouth and take a long sigh out the mouth. Lovely. Open your eyes up, guys. We're going to come standing slowly, no sudden movements, just come standing up. Okay, and we're going to work with something called a Kundalini Shakedown, which removes physical tension from the body. Okay, so bring your feet to hip width apart. Very, very, very short exercises these are. 1 minute, stop, 1 minute, stop, and eventually a little meditation. So feet hip width apart, yeah? And what we're going to start to do is just knock one knee at a time. So you sort of bend in one knee and bend in the other knee very rapidly. Hands are hanging. You're not creating any stiffness or any firmness in the hands. The hands are just hanging. Okay, so you're not really doing anything apart from alternatively bending the knees quite rapidly. Now you'll probably start to feel that this starts to move the thighs, jiggle the bum a bit. The shoulder blades might start to wobble a bit. The hands might start to wobble. And then you might close your eyes down if that suits. And everything is just shaking because you're moving the knees alternatively. Every tiny bit of shake that you're sort of creating, I want you to try and relax the muscles a little bit more. Any little bit of rigidity that you're trying to form in the body, I want you to try and let it go. Then start to bring the breath in. So we're bringing this long, deep breath into the body, into the belly. Our knees are just alternatively bending. Our hands are now going to start to do a bit more movement. So you might just do a little bit more movement with the hands. The body might do a bit more movement. So you might draw the hands out and in from the hips and do a little bit more of a sort of organic movement with the hands. Okay, when we're anxious and stressed, we become very rigid. Now, just this physical movement of the body, releasing that stress, helps us to become less rigid in the mind also. Fab. And now we're just going to start to sort of scatter the hands around the body. Okay, so you're sort of shaking the fingertips. Now you might just do a little sort of like shimmy in the hips. Don't worry about it. If you haven't done stuff like this before, leave the ego out the door. It's not welcome in Kundalini. Okay, so we're shaking the fingertips, we're shaking the arms, we're starting to shake the elbows a little bit and put a little bit more sort of like welly into it. So you're shaking stuff off the body. Okay, with a long, slow, deep breath, eyes are closed, try and focus inwardly. Lovely. And then we might just start to move the feet. So you're actually sort of alternating, coming onto one pad of the foot and the other, almost like jumping a little bit. So you're jumping in the air, you're throwing your hands up in the air, little shakes, sort of sprinkling some goodness around the body, shaking it all off. And then shake it off, as in flick your fingertips down as if they're coming towards the feet, and just physically shake off any tension that you don't want to carry with you. Okay, shake it off. Now I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to continuously breathe and do this for just a few more rounds. Okay. Lovely work, guys. Don't let anything stay on the body that does not belong on the body. Anxiety, stress, worry, tension, get it off. Old thought patterns, rubbish. Fab. And then from here, just stand with the feet hip width apart. Close your eyes down, stand very still. Rest the hands by the side of the hips so they're hanging naturally down. If you feel you need to open the eyes, that's totally fine. And then just start to breathe. Feel the nervous system waking up, physically waking up in the fingertips, all of the nerve endings. Become aware of the sensations of the body. This is about mindfulness as well. Feel the stillness. And then take a big inhale through the nose like we did before. So very big breath in. Hold the breath, 5 breath counts. And then a big exhale out the mouth. Lovely work, guys. Okay, from here, still we've got this hip width apart thing. We're going to bring the arms out to the side with the palms facing down, and we're just going to take torso twists. Inhale to the left, exhale to the right. Inhale to the left, exhale to the right. And we're moving like this. Now, if you're a dizzy person, you might want to go a little bit slower, and with time, the dizziness will go, okay? We are wringing out tension from the spine, rotating from left to right. Close your eyes down, if that suits, or keep them open, and inhale, exhale from side to side. Find rhythm, use it as a moving meditation. This is really nice for sort of like bringing more radiance into the body. It's expanding your magnetic field. It's making you feel more radiant. Last few rounds, work with the breath. Lovely. Inhale, both arms out to the side, hold the breath. 5 breath counts, hold, push the fingertips away from the heart. And exhale, release the hands to the side of the hips, eyes are closed, stand tall. Feel that sort of energizing sensation in the body. Hopefully a release of tension in the body and in the mind. Really feel what the body feels like. It's a sensory experience, is Kundalini Yoga, and it's important to use the senses to help us remove these cognitive disturbances. Cool. Okay, last 2 exercises, then we're going to come into a little meditation. So what we're going to do from here is something called miracle bends. We'll do it from here and upwards. You're standing with feet hip width apart, and we're going to grab as if we're sort of picking up some leaves from the floor, okay? Picking up the leaves and then chucking them into the air. Picking them up and then chucking them into the air, okay? It's almost like you're a child picking up like autumn leaves. So you can all start, pick it up, chuck it, pick it up, chuck it. If you can't bend your knees down, that's fine. You can just do big circles like this, okay? Now, I want you to feel, hopefully you can close your eyes down, and I want you to just really focus on the movement that you're doing, okay? You're not focusing on the head, you're focusing on the body, you're focusing on the breath. If you need to go slower, that is totally your thing, okay? It's up to you. Now, let's think about when we get to the top and our eyes are closed, can we imagine sort of scattering all those leaves up and out, up and out? Yeah, almost like there's a little pause at the top as well. Really big swooping movements, making you much more vibrant, happy, joyful. You might even take a little smile as the arms come up to the top and down. So smile and bring them up to the top and down. Well, if that smile's totally too cheesy for you, then you don't have to do it. I can be cheesy sometimes, guys, sorry. Last few rounds. And inhale up, stretch the arms above the head. Hold the breath, broaden the body, make yourself nice and broad and powerful. And exhale. Hands to the side of the hips. Stand here. Bring the breath back into the belly. Feel the body becoming a lot more relaxed. Ace, guys. Okay, and come sitting down. So we've just got one last little exercise before we go into a very small breath meditation, and then we're done. Okay, so I want you to stretch your legs out. If this is comfortable for you, if it's not comfortable for you, you could always sit on something, which will help you sort of to get a little bit more of a forward rotation of the torso, okay? Or if this is not comfortable with straight legs, you might sit cross-legged or on the knees or whatever suits. Now we're going to do something called blessing the body, which is basically saying thank you to every single area of the body for all its hard work that it's done. Because we usually just say rubbish stuff, don't we? So we say thank you. We're going to take the flat of the hand and make that noise. Got to be the noise, got to be there. Make the noise, and we're blessing it, saying thank you in our head, and you just tap in every single bit of the body, every single bit of it, from underneath the toes. So you can all start doing this. Tap, 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 and it will get quite tiring, but I don't want you to miss anything out, okay? Specifically the parts that you're the most mean to. Okay, keep going, guys. Close your eyes down, nice slow deep breath. Swell it. Lovely. Get the face, get the back of the head, the neck. Get the heart area. This sometimes needs a bit of stimulating. You can tap the chest bone. Bum. Underneath the feet. If it's getting tiring, then just keep going because it's part of the practice. 5, 4, get everything you can, saying thank you. 3, 2, and 1. Now keep the eyes closed down. You might just come into a cross-legged position and stay there, or chair, or whatever you want to sit on, but close the eyes down. Bring the hands into Gyan Mudra. So this is index finger and thumb, tips off, touch. Bring the back of the palm to the kneecap. Lift the heart space. We don't want to close this place. This is where we want to get rid of our anxiety from. So open the heart space. Chin is parallel to the floor. Notice what you feel like. Eyes are closed. You're concentrating on the breath. Notice what the body feels like. Notice what the mind feels like. Find that stillness. Okay, so keeping your eyes closed, we're going to just do a very simple breath meditation to finish, only for a couple of minutes. We're going to inhale for 8 equal breath counts and then exhale with 1 long breath. So it will look like this. 8, out the mouth, 1 long breath. Inhaling. 8, out the mouth, 1 long breath. Okay, so just go in here for a couple of rounds, everybody. Inhaling 8 equal breath counts. Just do it in your own time. And just keep moving with it for a few more rounds. On our next inhale, we're going to hold our breath for 5 seconds and roll our shoulders backwards as rapidly as we can. Okay, so take a big inhale through the nose. Hold the breath, turn the palms to face the knees and shoulder roll backwards, really, really rapidly as your breath is held. And release the shoulders, exhale. We're going to do the same again. So we inhale, we're going to hold the breath for 10 breath counts, roll the shoulders really rapidly, faster than last time, back, and then exhale, okay? So take that big inhale, hold the breath, 10 breath counts, rapid with the shoulders back. And exhale, release. Release the shoulders, focus inwardly, come back to natural breath rhythm. Find that stillness. Finding that sort of little meditative space. That's you, the observer, that cannot be affected by the mind or anything it has to say, as long as you befriend it. So this is the space, the still space to keep coming back to. Thank you guys, Satnam, great work. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I have run over, but I always do. So there we have it. Okay, so there we go. These are the tools that I'm giving you. Your why, your physical practice, your cognitive practice, and your login to keep those habits going. Now, it's all about the habits that you form. That's what's going to make the difference. Okay, the key to getting rid of anxiety is consistency, and it's knowing that the tools do work. So just put trust in the tools and then being consistent with practicing. And I know it's hard with motivation and stuff like that sometimes. So if you do struggle with motivation, you're more than welcome to come into our yoga community where I teach this stuff. I teach yoga. There's quite a few of you in here actually tonight. 2 weeks free, completely free. And I'm actually going to offer you guys, just because it's Mental Health Awareness Week, a tailored program for the first, I think I said 50 people. First 50 people, a tailored program with anxiety, stress relieving practices, and just to get you on your merry way to make sure that you stick to the practice. It's really, really important that you stick to it and form these habits. So yeah, I'll send you an email. You'll get a little logbook and stuff like that. And if you want to come along into the community, I have got a tailored program waiting for you. And there's a lot of wonderful people also waiting for you. Okay, so wonderful. I hope this helped. You'll receive a few emails to make sure you know what you're going to be doing if you want to stick with it for the week. And please do chat to me if you need any advice on anything to do with any of these things. I'm always here to help. Okay? Mwah! Lots of love. Thank you so much for coming. For those that I can sort of...
Kundalini